In Florida's coastal wilderness, the sweetest-smelling fruit burns your throat from the inside out, so violently you can barely swallow. Nicola Strickland learned that fast. Within an hour, her throat was burning. By hour 8, she could barely swallow. The apple came from a manchineel, one of the most toxic trees on Earth. Your brain evolved to see green, shaded spaces as safe. Here, that wiring becomes a liability. Bark that blisters skin when rain drips off it. Bright colors that scream, stay away. But your brain hears harmless. If you saw that fruit on the ground, would you pick it up? Thousands already have. A touch, a bite, a single step off the path. That's all it takes. This is Florida's toxic paradise. And here, trust is the deadliest mistake. Walk off the boardwalk and the map flips. The coastline that looks safe from the sand becomes a different country once you cross into the vegetation. And the trees you meet, they're not benign scenery. They are chemical defenses, perfected over millennia, disguised as shade. At the beach edge, where sand meets mangrove and scrub, the manchineel stands like a honey trap. Sailors called it treacherous for a reason. In 1521, Ponce de Leon survived an arrow wound that was later tied to manchineel-derived toxins. Centuries later, the same tree's fruit still delivers the same bitter lesson. Chemically, the manchineel is no folk tale. Its tissues contain formyl esters, irritant compounds that damage mucous membranes and skin. The fruit can taste sweet at first. That pleasant note is the deception. Rather than dramatize an immediate collapse, the manchineel's harm is clinical and escalating. Thermal-like chemical burns across mucosa, marked inflammation, and systemic distress that unfolds across hours. Modern case reports show the pattern: attraction, progressive chemical injury, and an emergency that often takes survivors by surprise. Even inhaling smoke from burning manchineel, which can aerosolize these toxins and produce severe eye and respiratory injuries documented in clinical literature. Not just legend. Move inland, into the hardwood hammocks and pine rockland, and the face of danger changes, but the rule stays the same. Poisonwood, Metopium toxifrum, does not advertise itself. It resembles dozens of ordinary trees. A smooth trunk here, unremarkable leaves there. The trap is visual camouflage. Its sap carries urushiol, the same family of compound behind poison ivy, but often more potent. A smear of sap in a boot, a scratch from brushing past a limb, or a raindrop that carries sap across exposed skin will see delayed, blistering contact dermatitis. Park rangers call it a summer regular. Hikers and maintenance crews arrive with the same pattern of agonizing, delayed rashes, surprised because they felt fine when they left the trailhead. Both trees exploit the same human weakness, our heuristics. We evolved to respond to fast, visible threats, a charging animal, a falling tree, an abrupt sound. We did not evolve to sense slow, chemical assaults that announce themselves hours later. That delay trains us not to fear the source. We walk away thinking we are safe, then awaken to burning skin or a throat that feels like it's been seared. The trees are passive and courteous in appearance, perfectly still and beautiful, but their defenses are anything but inert. Those rooted threats are only the opening act. The mobile killers, the animals and insects that move through these same spaces, are the ones that turn a bad day into a crisis. Step a few hundred meters deeper into the forest, and the danger stops being about what you touch, and becomes the air wrapped around your body. Florida's coastal woods create a microclimate that feels engineered to break human physiology. The deeper the shade gets, the faster your body overheats. These forests trap humidity like a sealed room. The canopy blocks wind, the understory holds moisture, and the air barely moves. Sweat stops evaporating. Your core temperature rises not from sunlight, but from the atmosphere itself. Meteorologists measure this with wet bulb globe temperature, a number that shows when the body can no longer shed heat, even while sitting still. In the stillest pockets of these forests, the WBGT can spike to levels where confusion sets in long before exhaustion. And that's the first thing heat destroys: judgment. Even a mild elevation in core temperature dulls executive function. You miss details you'd normally catch. You hesitate by half a second. In a forest where delayed toxins hide on bark and invisible hazards sit under leaves, that cognitive slip is all the environment needs. Vision follows. Humidity thickens the air into a lens. Soft haze, diffused light, distorted edges. Condensation on leaves makes poisonwood resin look like harmless morning dew. A manchineel branch dripping after rain blends into every other glossy surface. Your brain shifts into comfortable shade mode, when in reality, You're walking through a sensory deception chamber. That haze is why people step where they shouldn't, or brush against what they can't clearly identify. The ground is no safer. Beneath the leaf litter lies a mix of sand, decaying roots, and organic debris softened by constant moisture. It forms hidden voids. One step feels solid, the next collapses a rotted root pocket. These sudden drops spike your heart rate, throw off your balance, and push your already foggy judgment even further into failure. Even water turns hostile. Mangrove channels and shaded creeks look cooling, but the same trapped humidity means heat pools around your torso the moment you stop moving. People think they're recovering, right up until their breathing changes and disorientation hits. Because by this point, the forest isn't attacking you with toxins. It's attacking you with physics. And something else haunts in the same heavy air that's already fighting you. You brush past a branch. Hours later, your arm erupts in blisters. The forest marked you before you knew. At first glance, this part of the forest looks harmless. Soft green light, thin trunks, glossy leaves that seem to glow after rain. Nothing here screams danger. And that's exactly the problem. This is poisonwood, Metopium toxifrum, one of South Florida's most underestimated hazards. Rangers in Everglades and Biscayne national parks sometimes call it the forest landmine, because hikers often only discover the damage long after contact. Its bark is mottled with amber, brown, and black. Its smooth, shiny leaves grow in clusters of 5 to 7 leaflets, often marked by dark, tar-like resin spots. One of the few visual clues hikers can rely on. But the real danger is invisible. Its resin contains urushiol, the same oily compound behind poison ivy. And poisonwood's resin contains urushiol concentrations significantly higher than poison ivy. Some studies estimate up to 100 times greater potency in certain samples, though this varies naturally, and the damage it delivers is delayed. When urushiol binds to skin proteins, it triggers a T-cell mediated delayed hypersensitivity reaction. Your immune system attacks those skin areas, causing swelling, blistering, and intense itching hours to days later. For some people, the reaction begins within hours. For others, it peaks between 24 to 72 hours after exposure. South Florida ERs handle dozens of significant poisonwood dermatitis cases annually, while park rangers report many more mild exposures during the summer hiking season. In rare but well-documented cases, poisonwood reactions can escalate to fever, facial swelling, and widespread dermatitis requiring medical intervention. Your brain evolved to react instantly to clear, rapid threats. Movement, loud noises, bright colors. Poisonwood exploits a blind spot. Slow, invisible harm that slips beneath your awareness. Humans fear what moves fast and loud. Poisonwood punishes silence and delay. It is the perfect expression of this forest's operating system. A paradise armed, not with predators chasing you through the dark, but with organisms that wait for you to make the first mistake. In this forest, danger isn't what you see. It's what you touched and what your brain already forgot. But not everything here waits. Some threats strike fast, and their warning signs are bright enough to see, if you trust your instincts. Most people don't. Deep in this forest, not every threat hides. Some warn you outright, with colors so bold they should stop you in your tracks. And yet, humans walk straight past them, misread them, or worse, reach for them. Start with the coral snake. Its body is small, slender as a shoelace, but wrapped in one of evolution's clearest danger messages. Stable bands of red, yellow, and black. This pattern is one of the most studied examples of aposematism in reptiles, an honest biological warning signal. In the animal world, these colors are the equivalent of a flashing red stop sign. I am dangerous, stay away. Predators understand this instantly. Humans don't. We grew up surrounded by toys, cartoons, and bright plastic objects. Our brains don't map danger to bright colors. We map fun, familiar, safe. And that's why children often approach coral snakes, not out of ignorance, but because their pattern triggers comfort, not caution. The rhyme, red touch yellow, kill a fellow, exists to shortcut this problem, but even that has limits. It only applies reliably to specific North American coral snakes and their mimics. And under stress, people misremember it. In a real encounter, your brain doesn't recite a poem. It guesses. A wrong guess here leads to neuromuscular shutdown. Because coral snake venom is pure neurotoxin. It binds to postsynaptic nicotinic acetylcholine receptors and simultaneously disrupts presynaptic acetylcholine release. That's a complicated way of saying it shuts down the communication between your nerves and your muscles. Early symptoms are subtle. tingling or numbness, muscle weakness, ptosis, drooping eyelids, difficulty, speaking trouble, swallowing, blurred vision. Then the paralysis begins, descending, creeping downward as your body forgets how to move. If untreated, the final step is the one you never feel coming. Your diaphragm stops, and you simply stop breathing. Symptoms can take up to 13 hours to appear, which is why doctors monitor coral snakebite victims even when they feel fine. Bites are rarely fatal today, only because anti-venom exists, and only if you get help fast. But if the coral snake screams danger, the next creature whispers it. The puss caterpillar looks like something you'd pet in a gift shop. Soft, furry, harmless. A tiny wad of warm fluff clinging to a leaf. Your brain, evolved for fast binary sorting, safe or dangerous, tags it instantly as safe. That's the trap. Under that fur are rows of venom-tipped spines that work like microscopic hypodermic needles. Brush it once, and the spines snap off beneath your skin, releasing a venom with hemolytic and neurotoxic components. The pain ignites immediately, often described as bone-deep fire, and radiates up the arm or leg. Victims sometimes collapse from shock. Severe cases bring nausea, sweating, chest pain, even temporary systemic reactions. This is where psychology takes over. Humans freeze when threat cues are ambiguous, when something looks both safe and wrong at the same time. That split-second hesitation is deadly in a forest where hesitation is the injury. The forest doesn't hide its warnings. It screams them. We're just the only species that ignores them. Your instincts, shaped in the Pleistocene, say, no movement, no threat. Quiet means safe. Bright colors mean harmless. But here, those ancient rules malfunction. Humidity reduces scent diffusion, cutting olfactory sensitivity by up to 50%, so danger has no smell. Dense canopy cuts visible light by 70 to 80%, shortening vision below 10 meters. The world collapses into a green corridor where hazards sit one step beyond sight. The amygdala's fast-path circuits detect loud, sudden threats, but miss slow, chemical dangers. So your brain relaxes at the exact moment it should tighten. Within minutes, vigilance drops. Within hours, misperception leads to contact. Symptoms emerge silently within 4 to 13 hours, long after you've forgotten the moment you brushed against something alive. Even history didn't learn fast enough. Ponce de Leon survived wars and storms but died from wounds poisoned by forest toxins. Proof that experience offers no immunity to a place built to outthink you. Here, your senses don't just struggle, they lie, and the jungle lets you believe every word. Tropical forests have been refining themselves for over 65 million years since the Cretaceous, evolving chemical defenses, deceptive camouflage, and lethal predators in a co-adaptive dance. Urushiol, cardiac glycosides, neurotoxins, and photoreactive sap, all are tools in this invisible arsenal. Insects refine deception into architecture. Ants cultivate scale insects, caterpillars mimic venomous snakes, and beetles display aposematic colors, all shaping a network of survival strategies. Mycorrhizal networks shuttle nutrients and defensive signals underground, coordinating a slow-motion immune response across acres. The forest's intelligence isn't conscious. It emerges from co-evolved feedback loops. As a visitor, your only defense is knowledge. Follow these rules. Back of the hand rule. Never touch unknown surfaces with your fingertips. Your fingertips absorb toxins faster. Rain rule. Flee shade near coastal scrub during rain. A single drop of manchineel sap is active acid. Color rule. Treat all bright, slow-moving organisms as lethal warnings. The colors are honest. Your instincts are not. It only needs to keep following the rules it wrote long before we arrived.